The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with 5 good news stories. Hey, that guy over there on the barbecue, isn't that Dave Grohl? Why, yes, it is. Dave Grohl spent over 24 hours volunteering at an LA shelter to prepare barbecue for hundreds of people experiencing homelessness. Grohl had brisket, pork butt, ribs, and more delivered to Hope the Mission's Tribeca Center in Northridge, California. The director over there says he arrived around 3 in the afternoon, and then he was in our kitchen. He was prepping the meat. He was cutting it up, and he was there until he put it in the smoker. The meat didn't go into the smoker until midnight that night because he's like, that's to season. It has to do this. He's definitely a craftsman when it comes to that. And then he spent the night. Hope the Mission's shelters served dinner around 6 p.m., so Grohl was working towards that deadline to be able to serve the meals after they were prepared. The director said he actually served our guests. He came out and was very gracious and took pictures with the people that recognized him. He wanted no glory for it. He was just like, I just want to do this for you guys and give back in that way. Grohl told the staffers that he finds getting into the barbecue pit therapeutic after he comes off stage. The director said whenever he comes off work or anything else, it's what he wants to do. He wants to cook for people. And by the way, it was amazing. It was the best barbecue we've had. There's a cool video on the internet. Soccer fans threw teddy bears onto the field. These were in donation and support for the children affected by the earthquakes in Turkey. At the 17 seconds of the 4th minute of the match, which corresponds to the time of the first earthquake, supporters threw stuffed animals, scarves, and other toys onto the pitch, all of which will be delivered to children living in the earthquake-hit areas. Some of the stuffed animals had cards or notes attached on the outside. The event was called This Toy Is My Friend. Other translations have suggested that the title was This Toy Is For You. Regardless, good job by the fans and a very powerful video. A spaniel has a nose for sniffing out rats. The spaniel is the latest weapon in the fight to protect seabird colonies off the Welsh coast. Jinx is the UK's first conservation detection dog. Jinx, a 3-year-old working Cocker Spaniel, will not be directly responsible for tackling any rats. Well, that's good because, it's a spaniel. Let's put a human in charge of these things. But Jinx will detect them. And then it's up to you humans to decide what to do next. Jinx is trained to identify rat scent. Emily Williams is a senior marine policy officer, and Emily says, if Jinx identifies the presence of a rat, we could deal with it really quickly. If we don't, rats reproduce very quickly. You have a serious problem. We deal with the rats. He tells us if there are any. Hey, good news. The results of the snowplow naming competition in Madison, Wisconsin are in. The winning salt truck will be named Saltimus Prime. Good job, people of Madison. Saltimus Prime, 1,630 votes. A smaller, agile bike path plower will be named Snowby-Wan Kenobi. The city's loader plow will be named Seymour Pavement. And the dual-wing plow truck will be named Dolly Plowton. Think about it. I know you did. Some of the runners-up, Albert Breinstein and Snowdium Clearride. In 2021, there was a similar contest in Scotland. Some of those winners, Brinestone Plowboy, Spready Van Halen, Mary Queen of Salt, and On Her Majesty's Slippery Surface. All right, about a year ago, Priscilla got a Facebook friend request from Ed. She hit delete. Who does he think he is? I don't want anything to do with him. All right, I left out some details. Priscilla's 83. This guy, Ed, that's hitting her up on Facebook, 60 years ago, he called off their engagement in a letter. She hadn't spoken to him since. Priscilla said he broke my heart. Well, good news. They got back together. He's 85 now. He proposed again, and she said yeah. So way back in the day, he had proposed, then he reneged on it. See, he was a student at West Virginia University, and it's a few hours away from Hagerstown, where she was living. They committed to a long-distance relationship. And then he got cold feet. He said everything seemed financially troublesome. He was afraid to start a life with someone else, and he didn't think he had many choices. Priscilla was crushed. She remembers opening the letter, assuming it would be another sweet note from her fiancé, and she read it alone in her bedroom. She started to cry and burned the letter and sold her engagement ring and resolved to move on. 4 months later, she met Wally. They got married. They had a son and daughter together. From the son and daughter, 4 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren. Ed eventually got married, too, in 1968. He and wife Scotty had 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Scotty passed away in 2021. After his wife passed away, he'd get on the phone with his sisters. One of his sisters said, hey, remember Priscilla? She was a special lady. Ed said, I got to thinking about that. I sent that letter to her, and I probably hurt her feelings more than I ever knew or wanted. He felt compelled to apologize. He tracked her down. I didn't know how to find her. I didn't know her married name. He wound up on the Facebook page for St. Mark's Lutheran Church. That's where they first met. He noticed somebody by the name of Priscilla was engaging with posts, and I wondered if that was the Priscilla that I knew. He figured out that it was. He sent her a Facebook request. She rejected it. Priscilla says he sent me 2 more messages on Messenger, and I just ignored him. Ed called the church and asked the church's administrative assistant to ask her to arrange for a meeting. Priscilla said, "Tell him I don't want to see him." This is great. And then she thought, the only way I'm going to get rid of this guy is to meet with him and find out what he wants. So on Easter, they met up at Panera Bread. Ed started the conversation by apologizing. Priscilla said after all these decades, she could accept his olive branch. They chatted for 2 hours, and it kind of felt like old times. Ed said, "She's every bit as beautiful now as she was then. I became obsessed with this lady and the opportunity to do what I didn't do 60 years before." They started hanging out, dated for a few months, and Priscilla said after a few months, he wore me down. They got married in December at St. Mark's. That's your good news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows, and you have a great day.
Hello, I am Mark Francis, host of Palace Intrigue, the podcast that delves into the daily drama of the British royal family. These short daily episodes cover the latest news and scandals involving the likes of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Kate Middleton, King Charles, and the rest. From backroom sources to public controversies, we've got you covered. Whether you're a long-time fan or just curious about the royals, Palace Intrigue is the perfect podcast for you. So join us as we explore the lives, legacies, and dramas of the British monarchy. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of Palace Intrigue.